Ciao, siamo nella sesta settimana delle 12 settimane con il mio esperimento con italiano. Questa settimana ho fatto 6 lezioni di italiano sull'italki con la mia maestra. Oggi siamo domenica, quindi stasera della domenica, quindi ho terminato con i miei studi oggi. Domenica oggi è un buon giorno perché questa mattina ho avuto un buon allenatore alla palestra, quindi sono felice e con la mia lezione di italiano posso sentire che ora comincio a avere progresso in la maniera di che parlo e quindi ho 6 settimane che mi resto e questo esperimento sono molto felice per vedere che va se passa. Okay, so this is week six of 12 of my 12-week experiment, and I'm pretty happy with how things are coming along in my conversations with my tutor on italki. I'm really starting to make strides, obviously, in making a lot of mistakes, and I'll get caught up. Oh, do you know how do you say this or that, or grammar constructions, particularly with the past tense, because even though I'm familiar now, at least to a certain extent, with the imperfect and the perfect past tense, I'm still not fully comfortable with using them, obviously, on the fly. But yeah, we're having real conversations about music, the gym, all kinds of things, and working my way through it. And so with that, let's go ahead and talk about what I did this week. So this week I introduced a new tool. We'll get to that. So now my time is broken up across 6 tools, whereas in the first phase it was just 4 things: Coffee Break Italian, Link, Italian Uncovered, and Asimil. Now I've still got those 4 things, but I've also got italki, obviously, and now I'm also using those short stories in Italian for beginner and intermediate books that I've talked about before. So starting with Coffee Break Italian, I've done at least 1 lesson in Coffee Break Italian every day this week, so I continued my perfect record, 7 out of 7 days this week, and 42 out of 42 days overall, because we're end of the 6th week. This week I did 22 lessons in Coffee Break Italian for 10 and a half hours total time, and yeah, I can tell it's definitely serving me well. I've already listened to a lot of the episodes in season 2 a second time, and I can tell I'm probably going to listen to quite a few of them multiple times. I know for sure there's a few that I'm going to be listening to 3 or maybe 4 times, and I'm only a little over halfway through the second season. So really happy with that. Link, so I did Link 5 out of 7 days this week for a total of 39 out of 42 possible days in the 6 weeks. But that comes with an asterisk because Monday I didn't do any Link, but I actually wasn't planning on it. I brought my short stories book to the gym and I had my highlighter where I was highlighting words and stuff, and it's just not that practical. So I was like, well, so I took a look on Link to see what kind of other lessons and options there were, because for Spanish, for instance, and with Russian, I just uploaded PDFs of the books I wanted to read, but I kind of just impromptu looked on Link to see what there was for Italian available, and they have Il Piccolo Principe, which is the Little Prince in Italian, and so I decided to start that. So it's really 5 out of 6 days, but I'm just counting it 5 out of 7 for, in the books. And so I did 5 days of Link for 3.13 hours, and Il Piccolo Principe is 27 lessons in Link. And so before, with the mini stories, I was counting each mini story as a quote unquote lesson, and now I'm just counting it, okay, I did Link this day, or I didn't do Link this day, so it's going to be counted like Italian Uncovered, where I just say, okay, yeah, essentially the number of lessons is going to match the number of days. And The Little Prince is 27 lessons in that on Link, and I completed 14 out of the 27. Or actually, I'm on 14 now, so I'm literally in the middle of that. So I'm literally midway through the book. We'll see if I finish the book next week, maybe so, because there's also another day this week, and we'll see with some of the other things where I missed days because I had doctor's appointments and things pop up. So Link's going well. Asimil completed 5 lessons for a little over 2.5 hours. That's also going well. Not a whole lot to say about that. It's more of the same, there is, I guess, maybe next week I'll show my Asimil notebook again, because I haven't done that since the first or second week, and there might be some things I can talk about in there in terms of my approach to studying that. Next up is Italian Uncovered. I only did Italian Uncovered 3 out of the 7 days. Asimil. I've done Asimil 5 out of the 7 days this week for a total of 37 out of possible 42 days. With Italian Uncovered, I did 3 out of 7 days this week for exactly half, 21 out of 42 possible days. And I did 3 days and for an hour, 59 minutes to be completely honest, so almost an hour. So about 20 minutes each session. Italian Uncovered is something that I'm wanting to be more consistent with, but obviously only so much time in the day, and I'm already cramming as much in pretty much as I physically can with the free time that I have. But for instance, sometime when I eat, I'll watch a YouTube video or Netflix, that's where some of my passive watching comes from, but sometimes I'm not watching Italian things. However, to try and progress through Italian Uncovered more quickly, and maybe also finish it within the first 3 phases, I'm thinking about replacing at least some of the YouTube and Netflix watching with more Italian Uncovered, like the grammar videos and vocabulary videos. So yeah, it's useful. Same thing as last week, where I pick up little things here and there. It reinforces things I've seen elsewhere as well. Then the new kit this week is the short stories books. I did 7 short stories. I read 7 out of 7 days for a total of 7 out of 7 possible days, because obviously I didn't have the short stories books in phase 1. I completed 7 short stories for a little over 4 hours, 4.03 hours worth of short story time. The way you have seen it earlier in the video, the way that I'm using that tool, it's the exact same way that I used it for Spanish and Russian as well. And so, yep, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it worked well for those languages. So I don't really, right now there's nothing else that I can think of that I want to do that I'm not currently doing with those short stories. I think I'm getting a lot of juice out of them. And then the last thing are my italki lessons. I did 6 lessons this week. One, I missed one day and it was completely my fault. I actually booked an italki lesson 15 minutes before I had another appointment that I had to go to, so that I ended up missing that lesson. So I completed 6 out of 7 lessons for a possible 11 out of 14. And so that's 6 hours because each lesson's an hour apiece. And I really, same thing as last week with the italki lessons, I really like my teacher. We get along well. There's a good mix of grammar, working through a book, but a lot of times we're just using, because in the book, you know, as you're building up vocab and sentences and phrases, there'll be a certain subject or topic like, you know, music, sports, school, whatever else. And so a lot of times, you know, the book obviously has questions, and then we obviously cover that, but then that ends up opening up an actual dialogue and discussion between the two of us about whatever topic it is. And for instance, today in our discussion, we didn't even really use the book, I don't think. No, that was yesterday. So yeah, that was the case the first week, and it seems to be the case this week as well, where about half the lessons we are using the book, and the other half we just start talking at the beginning and then kind of get wrapped up in the conversation and you know, in Italian, obviously. And so yeah, that's been good, and look forward to continuing to make more progress with that. Then the last category are the passive studying. This week I did passive studying 3 out of the 7 days, just because I have been busy, and you know, I do watch and consume other content other than just Italian stuff. So to try and keep up with some of those other things like podcasts and YouTube videos that I like to watch, YouTubers that I like to follow, a lot of that's times coming out of the passive watching. So I did 3 days for an hour and a half. It was 2 Netflix episodes of the show that I've been watching, and today I watched like 35 minutes worth of YouTube videos from Lucrezia. And yep, so that about does it. Then the total for the week. So the total time this week was 27.26 hours of active studying, 1.55 hours of passive studying. You can see that there. And then how that compares to last week, actually quite favorably, which kind of surprised me, but kind of doesn't at the same time, because last week I also had a day or two that kind of got screwed up due to other things, which was unfortunate since I had the whole week off. But this week I only worked 3 days, so I did have a lot of free time, even with the other things that popped up. So yeah, I did half an hour of studying more last week, so I'm at, you know, almost 55 hours of studying into phase 2 so far, which is great, and I'm happy with that. We'll see how it goes as work starts to pick back up over the next couple weeks. Other than that, thank you for following me, and hope you all have a good week.